Mizzah, it's the show about Mizzah Tee. It's the show about Mizzah Tee. Alright, foos. Welcome back. This is part 2 of my N64 collection. I hope you guys enjoyed the first one. A link to the first video is in the description below, as well as on the screen in front of you if you're on your computer. So make sure you check that out before you watch this one. You actually don't really have to watch them in order or anything, but I'm going to make sure you see them all. As I said before, the N64 is my favorite console of all time, and I'm going to be showing you my so-called collection. I don't like to call it a collection because, you know, I just buy games that I play, but I guess since I have them all together, that makes them a collection. So let's get into it. All right, first up we have Wrestlemania 2000, one of those storied wrestling games from the AKI, THQ, features and things like that. But the wrestling in them was pretty much the same, very solid, with some nuance. And next up we have one of my favorite fighting games on the N64, Fighter's Destiny, probably my favorite fighting game on the N64. Very cool fighting system in this game, very innovative. I loved it. Not a lot of people talk about it. It really is a good game. You guys should check it out. Next up, we got Major League Baseball with King Griffey. I love this series from the Super Nintendo, and nice to see Nintendo Sports bring it back for the N64. One of my favorite sports titles on the console for sure. Wcw Mayhem. This one's from EA, not THQ, AKI. Not as good as far as that goes. The graphics are a little better, but the wrestling grappling stuff isn't as good. But still pretty good game. You know, I was a huge wrestling fan, so I checked it out. Next up, we have Kirby 64 and the Crystal Shards. This is the Japanese version, as you can see. Not sure why I have the Japanese version, maybe because I saw it somewhere and it was cheaper. Sometimes import games for these consoles are cheaper than the American ones, so maybe that's why. Next up is Castlevania. Needs no introduction. A lot of people know about Castlevania, but this one is the N64 version, and it brought Castlevania into the 3D world. Not always successfully, but I still like it. It was a pretty fun game. And here is the sequel to it, Castlevania Legacy of Darkness. They improved a lot of stuff like the controls and the visuals, but it didn't really make the transition as well as a lot of games did, coming from 2D to 3D. But I still really enjoyed both of these games. So next up is F1 World Grand Prix, another one of my racing games. I really like racing games, especially during this era. Grand Prix, the IndyCar racing was huge into. I just thought, some of that stuff was really cool, blistering speeds and stuff. So this one is Flying Dragons. I'm not sure again why I have the Japanese version, because the American version of this game, or the North American version, is still cheap. I think I haven't looked at it in a while, but it's not rare or anything. Really cool fighting game. WCW No Mercy, again another one of those THQ AKI classics. This one's one of my favorites. What did I say? WCW? I meant WWF. If I said WCW, I feel like I did. But yeah, WWF No Mercy, you can see obviously. But yeah, it's still pretty cool. And here is WWF Attitude from Acclaim. Acclaim was really good on N64, especially with the graphics and stuff. Again, this wasn't as good as the AKI THQ games as far as the grappling and wrestling gameplay goes, but still pretty fun. Very, Next up, we have Shadowgate 64. This is one of the first Western style RPGs I ever played. This is one of the first ones, and it had a first person perspective in it. I really like this. It has that medieval times kind of medieval era magic and myth. Really cool game. This one is Q64. This is an import game. It never came out in the West. It is a kind of, as you can see from the graphic, it's kind of a Micro Machines type of racing game, kart racing game. So it's not like a top down. It's actually, you know, just like a Mario Kart with nuance. So pretty cool, pretty fun. And here's another game that needs no introduction, Mortal Kombat 4. I was huge into Mortal Kombat, especially in the early to mid 90s. Not so much anymore. I haven't played a Mortal Kombat game in a long time, but Mortal Kombat 4 for N64 is pretty cool. And boy, do I miss Midway. Next up, we have Mario Golf. Mario Golf! One of my favorite sports titles on the N64. This game literally taught me the game of golf. I did not understand golf until I started playing this game. It made a whole lot more sense, and I actually caught myself watching golf after playing this game. So there you go. Video games, you know, expanding, you know, real life ventures. So pretty cool. Duke Nukem 64 also needs no introduction. One of those cool first-person shooters from the mid-90s, early to mid-90s. And it had that, you know, Duke Nukem charm in it, Duke Nukem humor. Very fun game. I still play this game. Next up, we have Tetrasphere. Obviously, it's a Tetris game, but with some nuance. It's merging into like a spherical kind of setup. Very fun puzzle game. One of my favorite puzzle games of all time, actually. I still find myself going back to this game. Lots of fun. One of the early N64 titles. Then we have WCW Nwo World Tour. One of the games from the AKI THQ series I've played the most. I think the one I played the most is coming up, but I was really into WCW when they formed and came out, and Hollywood Hulk and all that. It was pretty cool to me as a kid. Then we have F-Zero X, one of my favorite racers, not just on this console, but of all time. I really like F-Zero X. It was so cool to see those characters from the Super Nintendo really, you know, come to life on the N64 version, having a real true 3D. It was really cool. Then we have Paper Mario, with the storied franchise of Paper Mario. This is the first game, technically. You can count Mario RPG if you want, but not really. And yeah, a lot of Paper Mario fans really love the early Paper Mario games. So do I, but I just don't hate on the later ones. But this is the one that started it. And here we have Super Mario 64, a game that needs no introduction, but obviously this is a different one. This is the Japanese version, but not just the Japanese version. There's actually two versions of Mario 64 Japanese, and this version, just like the F-Zero one that I showed you in the previous video, let me just get this in focus and bring it up here. Just like that, this has rumble feedback. The early version of Mario 64 did not have that in the US or Japan, actually. This is a special edition that went back and put in rumble capabilities, and I wish the American version would have done that, gave us special editions, but there it is. Super Mario 64 with rumble. If you have an N64, find this. I mean, it's a little bit more pricier, I think, today, probably, but I think it's worth it to be able to play Mario and ground pound and feel it. All right, and then we have WCW Nwo Revenge. This is the wrestling game on N64 that I played the most. Obviously, again, it's from the THQ storied franchise of wrestling games. They have, you know, really good gameplay, really good grappling. Just nights and nights and nights, long nights playing this game. 4 players on N64, great time. And here we have, last but not least, 1080 Snowboarding. 1080 Snowboarding is made by Shigeru Miyamoto himself, which seemed so odd to me at the time, and still kind of does, that he would make a snowboarding game. But this is something he was really into at the time, and you know, snowboarding games and extreme sports games were really big at this time, so made a lot of sense. Really liked it though. All right, that's it for this episode of my N64 collection. There's going to be more and more parts. N64 is the system I have the most games for. It's my favorite console of all time, like I said. So expect maybe even 5 parts total. Who knows? It might even go up to 6. I don't know. But yeah, so stay tuned. Hope you guys enjoyed more games from me. and we're gonna get into the bigger hitters coming up here. So I did kind of hold them back a little bit for the end of the series. So stay tuned for those. All right, guys, that's it for this one, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you all for watching Mizzah Tee Show.